Yes, we can start at 5.
Okay, welcome to the Planning Commission Administrative Hearing for February 2nd, 2022. My name is Aaron Ardmore. I'll be acting as the Administrative Hearing Officer today. We have one item. Before we get to that, I need to read this statement on Open and Public Meetings Act. Due to Utah County's high level of coronavirus cases as determined by the state's COVID-19 transmission index, I have determined that conducting meetings with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present there. Therefore, for the next 30 days, all meetings of the Plan Commission Administrative Hearing will be conducted via electronic means. Okay, so we'll just go right into the first item, which is Carmen Cole requests a conditional use permit for a major home occupation dance studio in the R18S one family residential zone located at 1145 Holly Circle in the Wasatch neighborhood. I will turn the time over to the staff member to present his staff report, then open up to the applicant for any comments, and then to the public in that order. So Dustin Wright is the staff member. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the property here that the applicant would like to have the home occupation is 1145 North Holly Circle. As you can see here highlighted in red. It's in a residential single family neighborhood. Home occupations are permitted within the zone, and major home occupations require a conditional use permit to be granted for those. And so the applicant's request to have more than 6 students is the reason why they need to have the major home occupation and the conditional use permit granted. So they've applied for that. City staff has reviewed their application materials, reviewed the property to see for compliance there. The applicant, a little bit about the proposed business, the applicant, her home occupation, she would like to have more than 6 students. She would be the only employee on the site. The classes would be conducted during the hours permitted within the city code. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. is what she's planning for those classes. There would be 1 class a week that would have 12 students, which is allowed with a major home occupation. The garage won't be used for the conditional use permit. It would be conducted entirely within the residence, within a portion of the building. Her plan would be to meet the students outside. They'd be dropped off. She would walk them in. So the parents dropping them off would not need to park there on the site. So they drop them off and then come back and pick them up after the class. And so that's kind of an important part of it, is that there's, as far as parking goes, there's not additional off-street parking spaces available for this. And so with that process of picking up and dropping off and not staying there, that would be able to meet the code. We have had some neighbors contact us and mention that they had some concerns about parking on the property. As far as it currently has gone, and as far as what this conditional use permit might bring as far as parking. And so there's an accessory dwelling unit within the home. we've met with our zoning administrator and discussed that, and there's available parking for the accessory dwelling unit. But as far as parking for the conditional use permit, there wouldn't be off-site parking. So the applicant would need to make sure that she is complying with that she's not doing on-street parking as part of this conditional use permit. So staff has provided some a recommendation and some conditions with that. So the recommendation would be to approve the requested conditional use permit with the following conditions: that the applicant complies with code requirements in 1441 060 for major home occupations, and that music and noise levels do not create a nuisance. So that's the staff report. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer those.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it for now. I don't have any questions for you at this time. I'll go ahead and open it up to the applicant, Carmen Cole, if you wanted to add anything to that report or.
It sounds good. I think if in the future I can add parking, it's just not something I can do at the moment. If you see in the red box on the top right corner, the north edge of the house, I could certainly add some parking there next to the road if we needed parking in the future. So I'm open to that. It's just not something I can do right at the moment because of the cost. But yes, I am planning to comply and invite people in so that they aren't there, and do my best to stagger classes as well, just to avoid any sort of congestion.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Cole, I just actually had a couple of questions for you. Do you have an idea about the number of classes per day that you'll be running at the home?
It's one of those things where if it does well, then I will add more classes. But at the moment, I was only planning on doing somewhere between 2 and 6, but that's in an entire week. So that would be
Entire week.
1 a day, maybe 2 a day. It kind of, like I said, it would have to build up to that.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and what's the length of one of these classes?
I was offering 2 weeks for free just to try it out and without any obligation. And it was working well to have people come and go, and no one was parking. And I was doing 45 minutes with a 15-minute gap.
Okay.
Just so that to help avoid any sort of congestion.
That's helpful. Thank you. Okay, I will go ahead and open it up to the public. I see we have a couple people on the Zoom call, and people can call in as well. Now, if you want to introduce anybody from the public.
There are no public comments. 45 seconds.
Okay. While we're waiting for those, I just wanted to address that we did get 2 emails. One from Dennis De La Corte, hope I'm saying that right, who sent an email in with some concerns about parking, sufficient off-street parking, and the number of cars driving in and out of Holly Circle. And an additional complaint from Mike and Marion Pickard, and their concerns were shared with the other email: adequate parking and increased traffic. So we did receive those concerns, and I'll try to address those in my review of this proposal.
No public comments.
Okay, thank you. So I looked at those concerns. The adequate parking, I believe, is addressed partially by there being a legal off-street parking for the uses in the home currently existing, and the plan for a pickup drop-off. I kind of did a little research on the property and Holly Circle itself. It seems like there's so the Holly Circle looks to be about 40 feet wide of asphalt. So there'd be room on both sides of the street for drop off and pickup. I think a cul-de-sac is ideal for this type of arrangement. So we're not creating dangerous U-turns on public streets, but we actually have a cul-de-sac to turn around for pickup and drop off. I think that helps mitigate that concern. And there's plenty of curb space just in the straight portion of Holly Circle. I measured about 270 feet of curb space that isn't interrupted by a driveway, which would amount to about 13 cars, which I think is more than what's anticipated for any kind of drop-off traffic with these classes. So I think with those realizations, I'm not as concerned about the parking concern from the neighbors or the increased traffic. I think the street can handle that type of traffic based on the number of classes per day that the applicant has anticipated. I would add that a conditional use permit like this is renewed annually, provided that no violations have occurred. So this is something that on an annual basis can be looked at to see if there were any complaints over the previous year, and that's something that staff could address. If there are valid complaints that had to be enforced, planning and the city have an option to revoke the conditional use permit. So there's some guarantees there that the property can stay in compliance to maintain the business. I agree with the recommendation. I would add in the first condition that the applicant complies with code requirements in 1441-060 and 1441-040. So I would just add that to that condition. And I'm happy with the proposed conditions. So I'll go ahead and approve this conditional use permit with those conditions, as long as the applicant agrees to those stated conditions. Ms. Cole?
I'm sure it's fine, but since I don't have the conditions in front of me, can you tell me what the two conditions are?
Yes. So the one condition is that you would comply with the code requirements stated in 1441-040 and 1441-060. Those are just a standard conditions for home occupations and major home occupations that are in the city code.
Oh, sorry. I understand that part. I just don't
Okay.
know what 040 and 060 say.
Okay. I'd be happy to read them to you, actually. So I can do that. Let me jump into my code here.
I'm happy to comply. I just need to know what it is.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I'll just quickly read through these. 1441-040 conditions of all home occupations. Persons who are not bona fide residents of the premises shall not be employed on said premises. The home occupation shall be conducted within the structure on the premises and shall not exceed 49% of the total floor area of said structure. You've shown that. The home occupation shall not occupy any area within the garage. You've shown that. Promotional meetings for the purpose of selling merchandise and taking orders may exceed the limits on customers in this section, but may not be held more than once per month. So that's that. What Dustin was describing as your 12 customers at once. Number 4, the home occupations may include the sale of commodities. However, it is the intent that it be limited to items produced on the premises. I don't think that that's part of your business plan, if I understand it right. Number 5, no sign or advertising shall be displayed on the premises. Number 6, no display of any kind shall be visible from the exterior of the premises. 7, garage, basement, yard, and other similar sales shall not be allowed more than a total of 5 days in any calendar year. 8, only one vehicle may be used in association with a home occupation and shall be garaged or stored entirely within a building or structure. 9, there shall be complete conformity with Provo City Code, fire, building, plumbing, electrical, and health codes, applicable state and city laws. 10, the home occupation shall not cause a demand for additional municipal or utility services. 11, home occupation shall not alter the residential character of the premises or unreasonably disturb the peace and quiet, including radio and television reception of the neighborhood by reason of color, design, materials, construction, lighting, sounds, noises, or vibrations. Then the other ones I've mentioned about the annual renewal. And then sufficient off-street parking must be provided for all business-related vehicles which park at the location. Okay, so that's 1441.040. 060 is the regulations that Dustin reviewed for your major home occupation, which limit your number of customers, the hours of operation, the outside employees, once again, and then the limiting of the promotional meetings to 4 times per month on a major home occupation rather than 1 time per month as read above. So as long as you feel comfortable with those conditions.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then I do approve this conditional use permit with those conditions, and that is the end of the hearing for today. Thank you all for coming.